Well, hello there. Welcome back to another episode of the Canadian Football Countdown, episode 283. And today we're going to talk about the 2025 CFL Draft recap. And plus, we're going to give our top 5 CFL quarterbacks. I'm Trey Colbeck. I'll introduce my two buddies here in a second, but let's take care of business here first. Like always, we're sponsored by Game Time TV, the Canadian. Learn more by visiting Game Time TV or by following on Facebook at facebook.com/GameTimeTVMB. That's a long little thing. They should shorten that. Anyway, and we also want to recognize the land acknowledgement. Canadian Football Countdown is brought to you from Treaty 1 territory to the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation, as well from Treaty 4 territory, traditional territory of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis Nation. And join the Discord if you haven't already. I know a lot of their fans have already been in there, but if you're a new fan or you have a buddy that you want to add, make sure to join the Discord. That is the Canadian Football Countdown community. And like I said, we're going to introduce my two buddies. I'm going to go to, I'm bad with my left and right. So we're going to look at that good-looking guy in glasses there. Ryan, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good. Just here in the passenger seat, ready to come along for the ride on what's it's always a fun show when we get into these top 5 countdowns. And I don't know, the CFL, I've been kind of, taking a little bit of a CFL focus sabbatical over the last couple of months. And the draft being this week really started to kind of bring me back in and get me excited for the season. So excited to chat about it.
Yeah, well, a little behind the curtain here. It's bad when Trey has to be the one asking, hey, guys, when are we doing a show? So this was my idea that we should get started here, realizing, if we want to do all our top 5s, we really got to get going because training camp starts next week? Anyway, sorry, someone says I'm polite. Who's that person does not know me. Anyway, we're going to go over to Adam here, buddy. How you doing, buddy?
Not too bad, Trey. Everything's going good over here. And again, I've been kind of like Ryan. I've been kind of just really busy with everything kind of right at the moment because it's, of course, seeding time out in the province of Saskatchewan and all over Western Canada here. So we've been busy getting equipment ready and getting other things done and all the other stuff that's going on. But hey, I did get a chance to follow a little bit about what happened in the CFL draft and what's been going on in the league. So yeah, it's been good. And shout out down to our 11th province down to the U.S. So
exactly. Yeah, so we did have that show a couple weeks ago, but I thought, you know what? This is our first day of school. Let's take a little bit of time. What did we guys do over the winter break, over the off season? Let the people know what do we do? Adam, let's go back to you, man. How was your winter?
Well, most of my winter is usually involved in either working with animals with the cattle or chasing buffalo around. And by buffalo, I mean the senior buffalo hockey team. It was a good winter though. Lots of stuff actually this year here. Me and my dad farmed together, and fortunately, I guess, he finally got to get his knee operation done. So he got a full knee replacement, and that meant that I was kind of a one-man army for a while there on the farm. Lots of working with the cows, lots of watering, lots of work. And of course, always busy there with the Theodore Buffaloes. I know people will come here for football, not for hockey, but we made it to the league semifinal this year. Unfortunately, couldn't get past those pesky Kenora Cobras, and they won the trophy. So Ryan, what you been up to all winter? You've been kind of hibernating a little bit there in Winnipeg, haven't you?
Well, that was exactly the word I was going to use. My winter when it comes to the podcast consists of a month from January to February of nonstop planning for the big Free Agent Frenzy 8-hour live show. And then immediately the day after that ends, don't come talk to me for a month, basically, as I rest and recover and pay zero attention to what's going on across the CFL. And so that kind of happened a little bit during that time. Built a new home office, a little better recording studio here for all the comments in the past about the audio, and I think the echoey audio in my old office. Hopefully it's a little better now, and if not, well, deal with it because this is as good as it's gonna get. So but yeah, that's that. I don't know, not too much exciting. I don't got a whole lot going on.
I don't know if it's your cameraman, but you're looking good tonight, buddy. It almost looks like you hit puberty at 30. It's great. I don't know. There's this about the angle. I don't know if it's the shirt. I don't know. You look like not older, but I don't. Anyway,
new haircut, isn't it?
I did get a haircut.
Maybe.
Yes,
Okay.
recently. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's
Thank
it.
you. Right on.
Hey, what you been up to all winter? We never heard from you yet.
Jeez, what did I do? A lot of stuff. Geez, I'm trying to remember now. Geez, this was my idea. Why was this such a stupid idea? No, pretty much since the free agency show, always the grind on the horse racing, a lot of stuff with that. It never stops. Kentucky Derby this weekend. Pretty excited for that. That's my Super Bowl. A lot of horse racing. If you check out the AFN, I've been writing for them and the Birmingham Stallions the last few weeks. That's been fun. Started a new job the last month. That's always fun. So I'm kind of more in the Adams neck of the woods. So we're going to be talking a lot more about farming stuff, even though I know nothing about it. But don't tell my boss that. Yeah, pretty much that stuff, and just the kids and sports. And I'm looking forward to this summer. The Downs opens in a couple of weeks. Racing starting. Oh man, football, baseball. The Jays get my hopes up. Then they lose 5 in a row, and then they get my hopes up again. The Jets. I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, that's me right now. And still waiting for GTA 6. Yeah. Anyway, that's about it. Now we'll go to the next segment here. We're going to do a quick draft recap. And again, we always say this before. If you want an in-depth analysis of Canadian draft talent, we ain't the guys. We ain't it. We are 3 goofballs with a podcast right now. Mike's the 4th one. We'll just give our quick thoughts, maybe about our teams that we fancy, maybe some extra insights. Adam, you're the guy from Saskatchewan. You guys had some a couple big names get picked, at least one for sure. What's your thoughts on what the Riders did, especially with a guy that has a brother in the league?
Yeah, no, I think the Riders actually had a very good draft, to be honest with you. Ali Saad, I went and I was watching some videos later on from Bowling Green. He looked really, really good in his defensive line skills. Maybe a little bit, he's got good arms on him, is what it seems like. He can really move people around and make things open up with his arms. And Eric Anderson, again, offensive linemen in Saskatchewan, we need as many as we can feed through the system because we're going to feed a lot through our system. Usually always happens where we have like 6 or 7 injuries and we end up playing whatever guy shows up on the field that day to pretty much play offensive line. But I think when our draft really got interesting was in the 3rd round. Saskatchewan, again, it's got pretty good depth in most positions, again, besides offensive line because we always seem to go through. But in the 3rd round, we ended up picking with the 25th overall pick, quarterback Curtis Rourke of Indiana. If you don't know who that is, well, just go look in BC right now, or you've been living under a rock for a very, very long time. Both cases, I think that Curtis Rourke eventually someday, I hope he never does. I honestly hope that he gets into the San Francisco 49ers. He was drafted there earlier than this week. I think on Sunday, I think it was. He was drafted by the 49ers, and I'm really hoping that he actually sticks in San Francisco and he never comes back to Saskatchewan and he's a starting quarterback and takes over for Brock Purdy, and that's the end of that. That'd be great. But if it doesn't happen, I sure hope one day we may see him in Saskatchewan and balling out and going into Labor Day and taking on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who also kind of picked up somebody pretty unique. Ryan, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I've seen talk that they're the winners of the draft. I think that's really hard to do, to go and proclaim a winner of the draft now. Wait a couple years, see how many of these guys make an impact for their teams versus how many make an impact for other teams or don't make an impact at all. But the Bombers in round 1, going with a linebacker and Connor Shea, who, from what I've read, was pretty solid linebacker there. They go back to linebacker in round 2. So back-to-back linebackers, a little bit interesting for Winnipeg, in my opinion. Maybe trying to look for those next pieces there. Adam Big Hill is out. Correct me if I'm wrong. Who's the... Kyrie Wilson, is that the other guy who's been there for a while? He's been there for a while. He's had injury issues. How long is he going to stay? I know they've got some of those other guys that we really like. Tony Jones. They brought in Jonathan Jones. Those guys are going to make an impact at linebacker this year. But I do like that they're kind of trying to plan that next phase of the linebacker position. And then that second pick in round 2, which they got for playing the most Canadian snaps out of any team in the CFL this year, drafting Canadian quarterback Taylor Algersma, who has, been directly in competition in the rankings with Curtis Rourke up until now, and I think is probably the safer pick. He didn't get drafted in the NFL. I know he got some training camp or some mini camp invites. He doesn't have the injury issues that Curtis Rourke had. This is such a crucial draft pick for the Bombers organization that back on Free Agent Frenzy Day and really for the last couple of years, I know Trey and I and most of Bomberville has been clamoring for what's the succession plan. Have your different levels of opinions on Zach Collaros and where he's at as a quarterback and stuff, but there's no way, whether you like him, whether you don't, you can't deny the Bombers need some sort of succession plan. And I've said all along, I want them to have that plan in place before it's too late. And I think as of right now, when does he come to the CFL? Does he come to the CFL? But this seems like the best they've been set up for the future at the quarterback position in a little bit. And arguably since the 2021 Grey Cup, this might be the most excited I am to be a Bombers fan because of that.
Yeah, how'd you say his name again? I always screw up his name.
Algersma?
Algersma. Could you imagine we could be through 2-3 seasons away from having 4 out of the 9 teams have starting Canadian quarterbacks between 2 Rourkes, Algersma, Trey Ford, and then Shadur Sanders being the American in Toronto. That's kind of where we're at right now with that. So I think that's pretty good. And I don't know. Again, draft recapping the draft is tough, but the Bombers, obviously they won when they convinced Michael Ball to become a fan, right, of the team. But I think the Bombers did great. I actually do like what Saskatchewan did too. I have to agree with Brandon in the chat here a lot. They made some good picks too, and they went and got Curtis Rourke. I wonder what's weird. I wonder if he'll have a better shot just in the NFL just because he went straight and a college there, and then he didn't have the pit stop like Nathan did. And I wonder what Algersma will do because he went straight from Canadian college there, which is a little bit different. But overall, I think the draft actually was pretty well received. I haven't heard too many complaints from many fan bases either. Again, I didn't go in depth of everybody. Did anyone hear anybody's fan base really be upset about anything?
Well, not particularly about their team's draft picks, but in classic genius CFL fashion, the CFL.ca draft tracker broke down in the middle of the draft. So,
Wow.
we're used to this now, right?
But it was televised though, wasn't it this year?
I believe. Yeah, TSN did the start of it. I believe 3 Down Nation also did like the entire draft. So, when you were saying off the top, Trey, that, we're not experts, that's absolutely true. Like, I don't know anything about these guys and I won't pretend to know about them. I'm not going to say bad things about any of them because that wouldn't be fair. I highly recommend going back and checking out 3 Down Nation's coverage. They did a lot of good stuff there around the CFL draft. And yeah, that's crazy what you were saying, that potentially 4 Canadian quarterbacks. I think the first thing I said after the draft was 2027 Banjo Bowl is going to be lit when we've got the Canadian duo at quarterback, in a couple of years, if it ends up working out like that.
And of course, they're all in the West too, right as of now.
Yeah.
So that'd be crazy. Like Banjo Bowl, Labor Day, and then you get Calgary or Edmonton and BC playing, and just Calgary needs one now, and then we'll have the straight.
And then Calgary's just off doing their own thing, pretty much. But the Canadian talent is there. It's exciting, and we're gonna later on in this show get into our top 5 quarterback rankings, and I'm gonna try to ramble about the draft for as long as I can to give me more time to finalize my list. But at the end of the day, and we'll talk about this more then, that the current quarterback crop is really strong in the CFL. I'm really excited about it this year, and it's equally as exciting to see that there's already these next guys potentially in the wing behind that to make it strong for years to come.
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll talk about with the top 5, but there's some teams where you can't decide if you go with the veteran that's kind of the backup guy, or do you go with the younger starter? And then there's some teams that just have the younger guy, and that's great. And then there's some teams who just have the wily veteran, like Saskatchewan and Winnipeg, right? And there's a lot of different ways you can go. And then you got, if Chad Kelly stays on the field, what's he like? What's Alexander getting kind of the reins in Montreal? There's a lot of different aspects of this going forward. Adam, do you have anything else to add to the draft?
No, honestly, it was a good draft. I can see there probably will be a lot of good depth pieces in there and guys that are going to have to learn the league a little bit because, of course, they were playing NCAA. Most of them did play some probably Canadian football at one point. Special shout out again to kind of the universities and colleges around here, the U of R, the U of S, the University of Manitoba, University of Calgary, and the University of Alberta, even UBC. The Western ones, you know what? They produce a lot of draft picks, and it's a real testament to what they have for a system out in those areas, and also to the CJFL players. Some of these guys were CJFL, and then they went over back to U Sports. It's great to see lots of these guys get drafted and end up getting a chance to continue their career in the CFL if they do choose to, I guess. Some of them have some really good opportunities and got some good careers planned out from just going to school and getting a really good career that way. So it's good to see. I think that there's going to be some interesting, probably there's going to be an interesting rivalry starting up with some picks, which is kind of cool. So, you know what? In all honesty, it was a good draft. Hopefully everybody ends up in the field and starts game one. That'd be awesome to see. But it always, you know what? It'll be good to see when it actually does get going.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Adam. A couple of other thoughts I had on the draft. One was shout out to all the Australian punters selected in the global draft earlier that day, because there were quite a few of them. That seems to be the norm for the global draft. The other one that I thought was cool that I saw today is first overall pick, the Calgary Stampeders went with wide receiver Damian Alford, 6'6" wide receiver going off the board first. I saw Vernon Adams was training with them in Montreal or went out to chat with them already. So quarterback trying to, get that rapport going with his number one overall draft pick and adding him to that Calgary room alongside Jalen Philpott, Clark Barnes. Like they've got a pretty good Canadian receiver crew that the Stamps have growing there. Alongside some of their American receivers that they have. So I liked that draft pick for Calgary. And then my last one was how many? I want to know your guys' guesses. There were 72 picks in the draft. How many offensive linemen do you think were selected in this year's draft?
I'll go with an even number. Go with 20.
20?
Should I just do the prices right and go 21?
You could.
I think it's probably less than normal. It didn't seem like a lot. I'll go 20. I'll go 25. I'll give a little bit of space there.
You are both way over, actually.
Yeah.
In 72 picks in this year's draft, by my quick count, there were 15 offensive linemen drafted. And in the first 4 rounds combined, and there were only 8. Which is crazy to me because I feel like of years past, we have seen offensive linemen, really offensive line heavy drafts where we might see 8 in the first 1.5, 2 rounds. So, we've seen, I think, that shift more in the last couple of years. And now we're seeing more defensive players and wide receivers selected early on in the early rounds of the draft, and quarterbacks now too, right? That we don't typically see in the past, which there was talk leading up to this. I believe I had read that it was kind of a weaker offensive line class compared to normal this year. And I think teams are just looking for that shifting priority as well. So that was just a quick one that, as I started looking at it, I was like, oh, man, it's not a lot of offensive linemen selected this year.
There's an overall vibe. Canadian sports is at an all-time high. If you go across them all, like obviously hockey, we're always going to be number one. Baseball might be the one we need to improve at, but basketball, we've been good. Soccer, we've been fantastic. We like the Olympics, we dominated in a bunch of different things. And now football, wasn't that U19 last year, U20 tournament in Edmonton? We beat America. We have all this talent right now. I don't think the best Canadian players are going to beat the best American players by any stretch on an actual game or even that flag football in the Olympics. But, I think the Canadian game is at an all-time high, and it's great to see, especially the skill players. Like you're saying, probably 20 years ago, you probably could say 15 non-offensive linemen might have been drafted out of 72, sometimes how the drafts have gone. So it's good to see. Do you guys have anything else you want to add to the draft? Anything else off season, or are we going to get in our top fives? Because, knowing us, we'll probably spend an hour on it, even though we're just talking about 15 players and most of them will probably be the same. Maybe.
Yeah, the only other thing that, and we talked about it already with that draft pick of El Gurzma for the Bombers and how that came from the National Snaps Reward is what it says on the website for having the most Canadian snaps. I really wonder how that's going to play in for teams in years to come. I think the last 2 years it's been Winnipeg and BC, if I'm correct. Maybe Toronto actually got it this year.
I thought Edmonton got it actually a year before.
No, last year was definitely Winnipeg, BC. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. I won't say definitely. You might be right, Adam. This year was BC traded that pick to Toronto, I think, probably as part of their, I want to say Dijon Allen trade. So, but either way, Winnipeg the last 2 years has just gotten an extra draft pick each year. And I always say that that's a little bit of a broken system where the teams with the best Canadian talent now get an extra opportunity at the end of round 2 to draft some of the extra Canadian talent. And I wonder, if he does turn into a CFL starter and does flourish in the CFL, is this something we'll look back at in a couple of years where that was an extra pick the Bombers won, and how could things have been different if somebody else would have played more Canadians potentially than Winnipeg did, and looking at it kind of like we look at trade trees in the future. So I still don't know if I love that little wrinkle in the CFL draft.
I think it's kind of, the team that probably doesn't play the most Canadian should almost think about getting that. I know you want to congratulate the team that's playing a lot of Canadians, but in another way, maybe it would convince the ones that don't play a lot of Canadians. Maybe it would, although then they're going to be persuaded to play Americans to try to get that extra draft pick. Maybe. I don't know what the best answer is. To me, it doesn't seem like a great, fair system. I think, you just go 1 through 9 and that's how you do it. I don't think you have to add these extra picks. The territorial picks, maybe a little bit of that might be okay, but it would be for guys that, again, are going to CJFL or something that they're not in a really known area, right? That maybe would be better for a territorial pick.
Well, if you want the extra draft picks, just be the last place team and wait for somebody to spend over the cap, right, Calgary?
Yeah, that works good.
But yeah, that's all I got on the draft. Really, nothing else. I think we've covered most of it.
I'll just say I actually disagree with you guys. I like the idea of the draft picks. If you're gonna have the ratio and you're gonna try to promote this play, maybe this is another question. Does the Americans that play 49%, if these are true Canadians, I think do it. You get the Canadians into it. I like this a million times better than the Rooney rule or whatever in the NFL for hiring coaches or whatever. That makes no sense to get an extra draft pick for that. So I'll take them that you play the Canadians, you get it. And again, I don't even hate that Calgary got the draft picks. BC did the crime. The way that the CBA is written or the league rules that the owners and the governor aboard, they voted for it. So they can't sit there and complain about it if they didn't do it. Same with, we want to hate the dribble punt. I can't complain about it. If all the owners like it, they like it, right? You can't complain about it. So it's, yeah. Anyway, I don't mind either of them. But yeah, let's get on to the top 5.
I was just going to quickly say one quick improvement if you do want to keep that rule potentially, in my opinion. Instead of awarding the top 2 teams based on the number of snaps, why not set some sort of reasonable threshold, reasonable high threshold where any team that reaches that amount gets an extra draft pick? Then it's you're awarding all the teams that play a solid number of Canadian snaps. You foster good Canadian talent, you get a chance to develop more Canadian talent.
Yeah. I'm sure there's ways you can make it better. I like it better than not having it. But
That's fair. Okay, I'm done delaying the
quarterback.
I'm done delaying the quarterback rankings.
We're good for the 5th time tonight. Top 5 quarterbacks. And you know what? We're going to go through the criteria is however we define it. We can have 3 completely different criterias. We could have 3 same criterias. We didn't really talk about it. We kind of did, and we didn't really give a good answer. So we just said our top 5 quarterbacks, I guess, coming right now or whatever, coming in the CFL in some way. We're going to start with our 5. Oh, where's my list? I gotta get my list.
The other thing I was going to bring up, guys,
geez.
Just for the fun of it, I went over to ChatGTP and asked it who it thinks is the top 5 quarterbacks in the CFL.
I did too.
Well.
Did we get the same ones?
Well, we'll find out, I guess.
Was the number 5 completely ridiculous and you wanted to just throw your phone? Okay, I think we got the same one. ChatGPT is like, why is there 2 idiots asking me the same question today?
All right, give me like 2 minutes. I'll go ask as well.
Okay, who wants to go first? Number 5.
Go for it, Adam.
Oh, what the heck? I'll go for it here. Number 5 is a guy that I still don't like his offensive line, but you know what? I don't know if you count that against him. He's still a great player. He doesn't have maybe the best of. Again, he's a guy that's mobile, which helps you a lot, and he's a quarterback that can make plays happen. And he's on a new team this year. It'll take a little bit of adjusting, but I didn't want to do it. But I got to put number 5 down as Vernon Adams Jr. for the Calgary Stampeders. And it's external factors. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he could probably be number 1 if he was on a different team. But I just don't like the Stamps. Should I say who ChatGTP decided on to?
Sure, go for it.
ChatGTP tells me that the former Calgary Stampeders quarterback, Jake Maier, demonstrates significant growth, completing 71.9% of his passes for 2,355 yards and 14 touchdowns, marking a notable improvement from the previous season. And he also
I have the stats open. Those aren't accurate at all, but he was the 4th leading passer in the CFL last year. So if it's going based off historical stats, it's not wrong.
Yeah, but you know, the fact that you're traded and dumped by your team and benched.
I took the words right out of my mouth because Jake Maier was my number 5. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Secretly, Ryan is ChatGPT. That's what
I'm doing.
It's confirmed.
You caught me. That's what I was doing during the off season, answering everybody's problems in life. Number 5, coming into this, like as a whole, I had a really hard time making this list to the point where I don't even have a definitive list and I'm thinking of it on the fly because looking at the 9 starting quarterbacks in the CFL this year, I can make a legitimate argument for each of the 9 of them to be in my top 5. I feel like, and there's some backups in there that I would even consider like guys who, if they were starters, could be that top 5 as well, right? Like I pulled up last year's when we did this. We do this every year, top 5 quarterback rankings. I look at the backup quarterback in Edmonton right now, Cody Fajardo. I had him at number 3, Adam at number 2, and Trey had him at number 1 last year. And he was on track for MOP, and now he's relegated as of now to a backup position. So this is going back to what I said earlier, that quarterback talent in the CFL, I think is incredible right now. That being said, I guess I have to choose a number 5. There's a number of different ways I could go. I feel like I don't typically put this guy in my top 5 list. So this year I'm going to give him credit because he has impressed me. He just hasn't stayed healthy the last couple of years. But I think Trevor Harris has looked pretty good the last couple of years in a Saskatchewan Roughriders uniform when he's been healthy. I think he's got an elite wide receiver core. You've got AJ Ouellette at running back. He's got his new running backs coach there as well. I think those receivers are going to grow this year. And Trevor Harris, he's always been a hit and miss guy. When he's on his game, he's best. He's arguably top 3 in the league, I would say, when he's on his game, but he's not always on his game. And when he's off his game, his bad games can be bad at times. But that feels like a kind of middle of the road quarterback to me. So I think I think he deserves a spot at number 5 on my list for this year. Trey?
Trevor Harris. Okay, I got that down. Sorry. I got some horse racing breaking news in my world that a couple drivers got suspended for fighting in the backstretch. So I'm just been kind of checking that on Twitter. Sorry. So
There's some video of this. I want to see this. Bunch of jockeys fighting. This will be great.
There's actually one, I think it's in the States, that's been circulating where two guys were fighting and the guy smacked the other guy across the face with a whip. And then the other guy, I don't know how he didn't just do it back. Yeah, so I don't know how recent that one was, but these are two different guys that I know from Alberta. So interesting. I apologize. I am terrible on my phone, especially when there's juicy news. But I'm actually going to have the same number 5 as Adam. We went with Vernon Adams Jr. Again, I'm not a fan of the team. That's how it was tough to differentiate on this one. Will he be top 5 in stats and wins and all these things? Probably not. Who knows? I mean, watch Calgary regain its form now with Vernon Adams Jr. under the helm there. But I think he, talent-wise and some different things, he is definitely a top 5 quarterback. And if it was one of those, like, we're starting an expansion draft today, or fantasy draft, and he'd be my 5th choice to take a quarterback probably as well after the guys that are going to come ahead of him here. So I'm going to go with Vernon Adams Jr. Let me just type that out. Adam, you know what? You kick off with 4 again because you started us off.
All right. Well, number 4 for me. This list, you're right, Ryan. Everybody has a legit number 1. All right, you could put anybody anywhere and really not be wrong. I mean, maybe if you went and grabbed like the backup from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, maybe if you grabbed Chris Trevler and threw him in number 1, you might be questioned a little bit. But nevertheless,
this isn't over yet.
You never know. Anyway, you know what? Number 4 for me, I think, is a guy that we kind of laughed about a little bit last year in the CFL, but he proved that he can really play a good game yet. And this year here, he's got Kenny Lawler beside him as well. Great quarterback, experienced. It's kind of an all-in kind of situation, I think, for Hamilton this year. So I'm going to go with number 4 being Bo Levi Mitchell of the Ticats. If he could stay healthy, he's a darn good quarterback and still can stay right up there with anybody else in this league.
I'll just say Bo Levi Mitchell made nobody's rankings last season. In fact, I'm pretty sure I came into the year ranking him 9 out of 9 for starting quarterbacks, and look where he ended up. So kudos to him. Is back to me for number 4. You want me to go again, Trey?
Yeah, go for it.
I can go again for number 4. Number 4, I'm going to go with the same guy I had at number 4 last year. Definitely have some injury concerns for him and how he'll be coming off of those injuries. He only played half the season last year due to the whole suspension, but I got to put Chad Kelly in at number 4 for me. I think when he's playing, yes, he's had some down moments, but I think he's one of those quarterbacks that can just explode with the mix of his rushing talent and his passing talent. And I think he does it with a wide receiver core in Toronto that typically I like to say is a lot of just studs, but not stars necessarily, a lot of those guys, and he's able to get the best out of them. So I think Kelly, to me, is definitely one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the CFL if he is still in the same form after injury. So I'll put him at number 4.
Yeah, going to my number 4, it seems like Adam and I have been copying off each other. I'm going to go with number 4 as well, Bo Levi Mitchell. Again, I think he's getting up a little bit over the hill, but my criteria was very vague. I think he's got the team around him. Where I was saying Vernon Adams doesn't, I think Bo Levi does. And maybe some of those numbers will be elevated because of that. Now watch him go have an MOP season or something stupid. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Bo Levi. I think this might be his last hoorah today, this year, maybe next year or something, but it's got to be his last hoorah soon. And he's a prideful guy, so I don't think he's going to go out limping if he can. So I definitely think he'll do everything he can to, but that East is going to be tough. I think that East might be the tougher division, which we'll talk about in our East preview in a few weeks. So, stay tuned for that. Number 3, Adam, let's see if we continue to copy each other here. I'm interested. Who do you got with number 3?
Number 3. Well, first I got to go with ChatGTP. I forgot to say what they were thinking about for number 4. They had Trey Ford of the Edmonton Elks. Not a bad pick, in all honesty. The only thing I'm concerned about with Edmonton again is a little bit of their receiving game. I don't know if I really trust Edmonton and Trey Ford to throw the football, or is he just going to have happy feet and run? He had a tendency of doing that before, and he still, I think, has a tendency of having happy feet. So if he does, that doesn't sit well with me, and I don't like quarterbacks with happy feet. I like a quarterback that can make a throw and make it accurate when he needs to, and have a team around him that can make him catches. If this guy stays healthy, he's probably one of the best he's number one in the league if he stays healthy. I've got some really good questions about if he will, especially after coming off an injury and, of course, all the other nonsense that he's been known for off the field. So if he doesn't have any issues with that, I'm going to go with number 3, being Chad Kelly of the Toronto Argonauts. I think he's a great quarterback, but again, much nonsense and now injuries. So if and teams have kind of figured him out a little bit as well. I'm probably trying to talk myself out of this pick already, but nevertheless, Montreal seems to have his number when they play him. They seem to get a pile of interceptions. Same with Ottawa. They also had a big game against Toronto as well. So I don't know. I think he against the other 6 teams in the league, he's pretty good. So you know what? Chad Kelly will be my number 3 pick.
Adam talked so much about happy feet. I just want to go watch the movie about the penguins now.
I do too. I want to go watch Madagascar.
Oh, okay. There we go. CFC movie night. Stay tuned. Yeah, I guess it's back to me then for my number 3 on the list. I'll go with a guy you both talked about already, and that's Vernon Adams Jr. Much for the same reason you guys said. I mean, at the start of the year, last year, Vernon Adams was the top quarterback in the CFL. That BC Lions offense was insane. And then it kind of started to struggle a little bit, and then he got injured, and then Rourke came in, and it was just a weird setup for the BC Lions, and VA didn't really get much of a chance down the stretch. I love his setup in Calgary from the players he has to work with there. I listed them earlier, Reggie Begelton, one of the top receivers in the league, Dominic Rhymes, some familiarity there. Also, could be 1,000-yard receiver. Tevin Jones, I famously claimed number 6 receiver in the CFL last season. Jalen Philpott, they added the guy in the draft this year with the number 1 overall pick, Alford there. Also, they've got some other good talent there. I really like the weapons VA has, and I think he's set up to succeed. My only thing I'm a little concerned with is the offensive game plan that the Calgary Stampeders employ in this Dave Dickinson system. Historically, it's been spread the ball around to 8-9 different guys in that offense. And I think they just have to lean on those few key guys in order to be successful. And if you build a game plan around that and let VA play his game, then I think there's no doubt that he can be one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the CFL. But that was the only hesitation for me to prevent me from possibly even putting him number 1 on my list was the Calgary offensive game plan. But I think he's got the talent, he's got the weapons, and I'm excited to see if he can turn around that Stampeders offense.
I like it. We're kind of similar, all 3 of us here, a little bit different. But Ryan, number 3, I'm going to agree with ChatGPT with their number 4. Bumping them up 1, though, I'm going to go with Trey Ford. I like what Edmonton did this offseason. I think they did some additions there, and I think that he'll grow, and I want to see this emergence of the Canadian quarterback. And I think Fajardo's the backup there now, right? And we just talked about that. Fajardo, I mean, I've never met either of them, and this is just pure vibes. He gives me 1,000% better mentor vibes than Bethel Thompson, right? So I think Fajardo might be who's the guy from Karate Kid? Wax on, wax off, a lot better to Trey Ford than Bethel Thompson would be. So I think Trey Ford, I'm thinking he's going to elevate his game this year. He's got the mobility, he just gives me good vibes when I watch. There's something dangerous. He maybe just needs to learn how to protect the ball a little bit and work on his throwing. But as long as you're a better pass thrower than Chris Streveler, you're doing all right. So, I think he'll keep it going, and I really want to see what he does there in Edmonton. Who's number 3 on ChatGPT, Adam?
Number 3 on ChatGPT is now a backup quarterback for the Edmonton Elks, Cody Fajardo. I can see why, but in another way, he's not the starter anymore. So, okay, I guess. And you never know in Edmonton what could happen. I mean, they have been known for pulling Trey Ford out of games very quickly and putting in their backups, which last year was McLeod Bethel Thompson. So it could happen again this year pretty easily. The ChatGTP Cody Fajardo, number 3. And I guess that moves on to my number 2 pick. Is it?
Well, we got to address a comment here. Did we forget to post that we were going live on Twitter?
Oh,
I posted on the different social medias,
Okay.
but to be fair, I only posted it like 3 hours before
That's
the
fair.
show, and we haven't done a show in 3 weeks. So
We apologize.
to address the concern about heads up for the show, much more consistent schedule going forward that Trey has put together. Every Wednesday night going forward?
Yeah, every Wednesday. I had it every Wednesday until Labor Day. So
I also posted in the Discord. So we will have the consistent schedule, but I don't always post the link until ahead of time because I am a slacker.
well, and I don't want to point fingers, but we have people who decide to cancel 5 minutes before the show sometimes. Adam.
To be fair, up until 1 minute before, up until showtime, when we messaged him and he said, "I'll be there in 5 minutes," neither Trey or I had any idea Adam was showing up tonight. So
He put one comment in the group chat saying something, and we're like, that was not him confirming he's in or not.
I gave a thumbs up earlier. I mean,
Oh, did you? We didn't see it.
I don't think I saw that, to be honest.
Okay. Anyways, I just had to get a clean shirt. That's all I had to do. Then I was
Every Wednesday, it's me and Ryan saying, "Is Adam coming tonight?"
Yeah.
Or is
There
he
are
stuck under
zero
a
thumbs
tractor?
up in the group chat from Adam. So
yeah,
Do we
There's
need a
a
horrific
reason why
farming accident happen, or is Adam showing up? Yeah.
well, you never know if cattle's loose on a Wednesday night, right?
Fair. It happens.
But yes, we are doing Thursday this week, partially due to the Winnipeg Jets game that was Wednesday night. But going forward, the plan is to do Wednesday night shows, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Mark it on your calendars and hit subscribe on the YouTube channel for those that haven't so far, and you will get the notification from YouTube if you have that turned on whenever we go live.
Technologies these days.
On a side note, they make adjustments for Winnipeg Jets games, but not Colorado Avalanche games. There's that.
To be fair, I could have cared less about the Jets game last night. I was ready to do the show, but then when Trey said maybe let's switch it, that gave me a good reason to watch Survivor and not do the show. So,
because I was gonna say my excuse wasn't even the Jets game.
Oh right, yes, you had a different.
My kid had his concert, so I was like, I might make it, but
priorities, right? Yeah,
I did watch the Jets game though. I'm really behind on Survivor, so we have to have no spoilers. I'm like 3 or 4 episodes behind.
Yeah.
I was greasing an air drill till 9:00 last night, so there was that.
Yeah, we'll do a quick recap for Richard because we like Richard. Criteria is completely open. It's top 5. It's complete madness. It's whoever and whatever we deem, just to keep it spicy. We've already got to our top number 2. Adam, what's your number 2?
Yeah, I've got my number 2 here. It was a really tough decision on these picks because, again, we've said this a lot. Criteria is wide open. You can decide on how you want. I'm usually trying to decide by what kind of team is behind the quarterback as well, if you notice on my kind of theme. And then the talent of the quarterback has probably a little bit to do with it as well. I'm going to go with the guy that was groomed into the position that he's in. He took over a veteran quarterback's job and kind of kept it and thought that he probably should have been gone earlier. I'm going to go with Dominic Alexander. I said that wrong again. Alexander Davis, isn't it?
It's Davis Alexander. Nice try.
One of these days, I will stop screwing up names. Anyway, right. Davis Alexander is the guy I'm going with. And the reason being is he's got all his weapons back this year. Philpo's back. Mac is going to be there for the full season. He's got all the other pieces that he had before. That offensive line looks really good. They've got a good running back system in there. I really like Montreal this year. So, yeah, I'm going to go with him for number 2.
Is Alexander Dominic Davis going to be the new Adamism for this year? No longer the Justin, don't call him Jake Hardy. Have we moved on?
Yeah, we'll get this the right way someday.
He's got to prove himself to you to earn the right name, and yet he's number 2 on your list here. I like it. It's a bold pick, Davis Alexander at number 2, but I do like it there. Where do I want to go between my top 2? I can't decide which one to put at number 1. I'm going to put a guy at number 2 that I owe a lot of respect after last year when I gave him none. He's the $100 fantasy football man. I wasted all my waiver money on him, and he was the top quarterback in the CFL. I could have made an argument for him to win MOP. He was the East MOP finalist, rightfully so. Bo Levi Mitchell had an incredible season last year, and people will try to discredit it and say they were out of so many games. But he still put up some great numbers throughout the season. Bo Levi Mitchell did. And I think the offensive weapons he has available this year are incredible as well. Like, that's even better, I would argue, than it was last season for him. So they have everything set up offensively there for him to be successful once again this year. And I did say for a while, even when I was harsh about Bo, I felt like a lot of that was because of his injuries that kind of forced him to take a step back for those couple of years. And he proved last year that when he's healthy, he can still sling the ball just as well. So, I was a little surprised to see Bo down at number 4 on your guys' lists after the season he had last year. And I won't put him quite at number 1 because I got a different name in mind, but I got to put him at least at number 2.
No, I mean, that was the difficulty of it. Again, watch him have an MOP season, like I said, at number 4. But, combining all the different potential criteria that you can mix into one, if I had a fantasy draft or expansion draft, he's not who I'm taking because you only got him for a year. And I know we were kind of looking at these different things and different that. There's a couple of guys who might be more skilled, who might have better talent around them. I mixed all the criteria into one for big jumble. And that's why for my number 2, give me a guy who I think after having a full training camp, not bouncing around some NFL training camps, a guy that's not showed up on anyone's list yet, and I'm assuming he's going to be your number 1, but he's going to be my number 2 because I'm not super convinced in this guy, but I'm more convinced than the 3 other names I've said so far. Give me Nathan Rourke as number 2. What's wrong, Adam? Oh, okay. You're doing it in the comments there. I'm going to go with Nathan Rourke. I think, again, he could potentially have an MOP season. I mean, if the Lions are willing to go, $500,000 over the salary cap again or whatever they did, they better win the cup this year. So give me Nathan Rourke.
You're right. He's number 1 on my list. I'll jump in for my number 1 here right away next, that Nathan Rourke is that guy. And Adam, you're nodding. Is he number 1 on your list as well? Do we want to just get into the Nathan Rourke conversation? I'm seeing Adam nodding. Yeah.
No, he's my number 1 as well. I mean, he was all over the place last year. He was in New York. He was in New England. And he was moving back into BC all of a sudden. I mean, it's tough to get yourself acquainted with one season of just being everywhere, essentially. And I think that, honestly, with a full training camp with him, with the quarterback or with the running back and the receivers being there the whole time, I guarantee that they probably have been renting out BC Place Stadium every moment that it's not available for anything else. And they've been throwing footballs in BC and getting ready. I could see him having a really good year this year. And he's got enough of a team around him, Justin McInnes and all the other pieces that he's got, Abelhart, I think, now. And there's a few others that are coming in. I think that's going to be a very good team offensively. And that's why I'm going to go with number 1 being Nathan. Don't call him Curtis Rourke.
Hey, you got the right brother there. That was the exact same reasons. The full training camp, the settled down after last season. I believe I believe Rourke will probably see somewhere in the middle of what we saw when he broke out in the CFL and what we saw last season. You know, that was just an unreal pace he had in those first 10 games that I'm not sure he'll replicate across an entire 18-game season. But I know the guy like clearly wears his heart on his sleeve. We saw it in the way he reacted in some of those post-game interviews. You know, he wants to be better. He wants to right the ship. He wants to get back on track. And I guarantee we will post it, and if I remember, these lists on social media, and we will get so much flack for putting Nathan Rourke at number 1 and number 2. I have a feeling on these lists after the way he played last year and given some of these other guys on the list. And you know what? That's fair. And that's why I said it was difficult to make these lists, because I put him at number 1 because I believe he is going to bounce back and be the best quarterback in the CFL this year. But I almost didn't put him at number 1 because I think his wide receiver core is a little bit thin on paper after some of the guys, after not making a ton of changes in that category. Alexander Hollins, they let go. He's off in Edmonton now. Keon Hatcher didn't come back great after injury last season, had some up and downs. Justin McInnes was fantastic for sure, but he had his best portion of the season last year with VA, not when he was together with Nathan Rourke necessarily. And then I think you've got a couple of names like Aberhart and Barry Hill and guys like that can step up into that next level role. But on paper, I would put them as a bit of a weaker receiver core compared to some of the other teams. So I don't know if he has all the talent around him, but I think he has enough of a talent to make plays with those guys. And James Butler at running back is going to be a huge help. And as much as I'll hate his system sometimes, the Buck Pierce offense can make him successful as well.
I like it. Before I give my number 1, because we'll build some suspense, Adam, who's number 2 and number 1 on ChatGPT?
Okay, let's take a look here. Number 2 on ChatGPT is, of course, the quarterback that Trey Colbeck endorses every season in the CFL. Definitely is the best one you could pick up for points for fantasy plays. I picked him up last year. Don't do that. It's Zach Collaros of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And number 1, oddly enough, it says is Vernon Adams Jr. And honestly, I agree with him on the talent-wise. I think he is the number 1 quarterback. But if you look at the team-wise, I'm a little bit more skeptical. But, honestly, it's not a bad pick there, Vernon Adams Jr. as your number 1. For ChatGPT, but that's what we got.
Just to correct you here, Adam, before the comments get to it, it's ChatGPT.
That's what I said.
Yeah, you've been saying GTP.
No, GTP. Oh, GTP.
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
I might have said it wrong too. I just chat.
And then they wonder why I want to why I all of a sudden call it off at the last second.
All right, guys, let's, we're only 50 minutes into this, so let's have some fun with this one.
Actually, why don't we run through some of the guys that didn't make the list at all if we want to here?
Well, let me get my number 1.
Let's let Trey give us number 1.
Number 1.
Yeah, give us your number 1.
You might think and that's what I love about this. You might think that, my number 1 could be a guy, could be a guy who I was very high on a few years ago.
I have a guess.
That you remember you talking about putting it out and getting flack, putting it out there. A guy, that nobody likes off the field and all that stuff, and probably for good reason. A guy who actually follows me on Twitter, and that's pretty damn cool. That deserves to be a number 1 right there. But we're going to throw the curveball of the century. Give me Zach Collaros, number 1. He's going to go out with a bang this year. I'm not kidding. He's going to go out with an absolute banger this year. He's going to try his hardest to win the Grey Cup at home. Will it win? Who knows? Give me Zach Collaros for his last MOP season.
This is episode 283 of the Canadian Football Countdown. We have hundreds of hours of this show. And I don't think I've ever been more shocked by a single thing said.
Oh, she's so mad at me. Because she might hate him more than I do.
There's no offensive line left in Winnipeg. They don't have the receiving core they used to have.
people have been doubting Winnipeg, and maybe the homer's coming out right now. Maybe, which you know me, the homer very rarely comes out. I got a gut feeling that's telling me that. Oh, what are those comments earlier, Richard? It's called misdirection, man. Have you ever seen Now You See Me, that movie, man? You never know what's going on.
Third one's coming out in November.
I've been maybe tricking you guys for 3 years just for this moment. Who knows?
Meanwhile, I go and I pull the ultimate non-homer move and don't even have Trevor Harris on my list.
Give me Zach Clarence. He's gonna, is it gonna be like a fantastic? No, he's probably gonna have some of those 150 some yard games like always. Maybe rely on Oliveira a little bit, but when it comes to that game tying touchdown, like he's done in the past, even though it's lost me money, he's gonna somehow pull it through, and the Bombers are somehow gonna go for their 6th straight Grey Cup. They probably will lose it, but if you want to look at it, if you look at it, maybe not in the game, who was the better quarterback in the last 5 Grey Cups? 3 or 4 times it was Zach Claros. Now, did it end that way? No, but going into it, who was the better quarterback?
I think I've known you for 3 years now. I truly question every time we do this podcast if I truly know you, Trey, because you throw me for a loop every time. I did not see that coming. It was a different name I actually thought that you're going to throw out at number 1 that we can talk about shortly that made nobody's list. But I want to weigh in on Zach Collaros as well, of that he's a guy that I was down on after last season. Like I said earlier, I was pretty pumped to see the Bombers draft Ilguersma. I think they need that succession plan. I think Collaros, I would have loved to see them go out and get a guy like Davis Alexander or a Trey Ford in free agency this year if they could have, and maybe give him a start this year. Collaros had a rough go last season for at least the first half of the season, if not the whole season, outside of a couple of games where didn't he go like 1 touchdown pass in his first 10 games or something like that? And he really struggled. I wonder, though, how much the return of Dalton Schoen changes things this year, because he missed all of last year due to injury. And when Collaros was arguably at the top of his game a couple of years ago, how many of those touchdown passes went to Dalton Schoen? Something like 24, 25 over the course of 2 seasons there, which that's a huge piece lost for him. And that's kind of his lifeline a lot of times. So I can see a scenario where he does bounce back to a bit more of a middle ground between the past couple of years this year as well. So I almost put him as my number 5 quarterback for this year instead of Trevor Harris in there. So I think it's reasonable what you said. I just don't know if I can see him getting back to that number 1 form right now.
Every year we've doubted Bo Levi, and I think Collaros is that next guy. They're probably about the same age. If not, Collaros might be older or like something. But I think, again, I've learned to I've doubted him, just like I wanted to do with Bo, and same with Zach. And then they come right back at me, giving me the middle finger, saying, "No, when you bet on me, we're going to lose, but when you bet against me, we're going to win." And watch me this be the stupidest thing I ever do, saying Zach Collaros, because now he's going to get hurt week 1 or he's going to get benched, and we're going to have to 18 weeks of Strevler.
This is you've set yourself in a really fun position here where somebody please go and clip this so that every time Collaros does something wrong this year and Trey gets mad at him, we just send him this clip.
Oh, man. Good thing I don't have season tickets. I don't think I can handle it this year. Oh, no. Right. I mean, and Richard, no, I didn't rope and dope you up until probably minutes or whatever long ago. I still hate Zach Collaros, but just my gut's telling me that. And you know how hard it was for me to keep my boy Chad Kelly off the list, man? He's probably my 5B right now. I agree with your injury assessment with him, and missing half a year before that, and then an injury. He barely played football last year. Now, sometimes football's a weird sport where time off can be good. Not necessarily an injury, but sometimes a way, either like a semi-retirement or those suspensions, because you can still train, you can still do stuff, like not with the team if you're suspended, but he can still work out and do stuff. But was it a leg injury?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty bad leg injury. Yeah. So, that'd be very interesting to see. Richard's got a good question. Which quarterback do we think leads the league in passing? Since we're talking about quarterbacks, which quarterback do you think will lead? I'll start off with this one. I think it'll be Bo Levi again. Didn't he end like last year? And he's got more weapons now. And he led last year with not the same amount of weapons. He's got more weapons. They didn't really have much of a run game. I feel like Hamilton was in a lot of those games where defense on both sides wasn't really existent, so the score ended being high. So I'll go with Bo Levi, Ryan.
Yeah, I was going to as a toss-up between Bo and VA for me. I think either of them I can see passing a whole lot. Rourke, yes, but I think we'll see Rourke use his legs a little bit more there. So in terms of just passing yards, I'm going to say one of those two guys. I'll give it to VA. I believe in VA in Calgary. Adam?
I'm going to go with Bo. I think you guys are right. I mean, he's got all the weapons now, and Kenny Lawler's a real deep threat. And by the way, there's this guy named Tim White and Shamar Bridges that are pretty good there, too. So,
Keandre Smith, yeah.
Yeah, Keandre Smith, and the list goes on and on for Hamilton. So, honestly, yeah, no, I could see it being Bo Levi Mitchell as well for passing yards. But don't overlook Vernon Adams Jr. as well. You're right. If he can get some real chemistry with some of these players that he's got, you're right. Reggie Bagleton's a good player. You've still got in there Dominic Rhymes now. You also got, my brain, Kevin Jones as well in Calgary. And all those are good deep weapons. So you could see a really good case for Vernon Adams Jr., although I still don't trust that offensive line to keep him up.
Yeah, the more you listed off Bo's weapons, changed my answer to Bo. I forgot about Shamar Bridges and all of in that crew even as well. So they're pretty stacked at wide receiver, and he likes to throw a lot.
Although also another honorable mention, if Trevor Harris can stay healthy, he's got a lot of pieces around him to also have a really good season in throwing. And Harris is known for just throwing the football, not running the football. That being said, Saskatchewan's also got a pretty good running back game. You're going to probably see a lot of balance there from Mark Mueller.
So let me ask you guys about, I think, the only starting quarterback that nobody had on their list, which is Drew Brown in Ottawa. I thought, Trey, part of me thought that was where you were going to go actually at number one, because I know you are a big Drew Brown guy from his time here in Winnipeg as well. And we saw him for his first season, do some good things in Ottawa, but then it kind of fell off a cliff in the second half of the season for them. But a lot of that, I think, being defensively as well. So he didn't crack my top 5 list either, but I'm interested to know your guys' thoughts on Drew Brown coming in at year number 2 in Ottawa.
I was just really disappointed in him last year. That's why I didn't have him in my top 5. I hate to say it, out of starters, yeah, he'd probably be my number 9 guy, I guess. Like, it's hard to put him anywhere else. And if you really want to dissect it, he might even be outside the top 10 if you start allowing backups to come into it. Like, again, and it's not that he's a bad player. I think it just, new system, new this and that. He had some, sorry, I'm blanking right here, but he had some, did he have a coach that went there? Am I blanking? Or am I making that up? Was there a Bomber coach that went, or am I making that up?
I think you might be making that up.
Or maybe I'm making that up. Okay. I thought there was some reason kind of that made sense that why he went there. Was there another player that went there?
I can't remember now.
I can't remember either, but I thought I just had higher expectations from him last year. And that's a pretty deep not deep, but a very interesting quarterback room too, with Crum and a couple other pieces in there with Mazzoli leaving. I think it'd be very interesting to see what happens. And I definitely wouldn't be shocked if that's the dark horse where we reanalyze these picks in 10 weeks or halfway through the season and we go, okay, I could definitely see him being a guy that kicks out one or two of our guys in our list. But yeah, he just didn't impress me enough to really ride on him, Adam.
No, I'm the same way. I don't really care for Ottawa should have a better offensive line than what they do. Those guys should be playing better than what they should. Ottawa's receiving core doesn't really impress me a lot. Again, they've got a good receiving core, but not something that I would say, oh my gosh, that's good, that's scary. And their running game also is not really the same as what it usually is from other teams. So Drew Brown has to do a lot of things on his own. And when you rely on a guy like that to do everything on your own, I don't think it really works very well. So that's kind of why I didn't have Drew Brown on my list.
Oh, I disagree wholeheartedly on the wide receiver core in Ottawa, though. And I don't know if that's in the schedule we have planned here yet, Trey, but I think it would be interesting to do rank the 9 wide receiver cores in the CFL, not necessarily just like the individual receivers, but teams as a whole at them, because I think that's a tough thing to do across the board for these teams. Like Ottawa, you look at Justin Hardy, Braylon Addison, Khalil Pimpleton, the breakout star from last year. They added Eugene Lewis in free agency to that mix as well. Like that's a pretty incredible top 4. Nick Mardner, the Canadian in his second year. We'll see what he can do to break out. I believe they drafted another Canadian receiver this year as well. So I don't know. I'm high on Drew Brown taking that step forward, where I wouldn't be surprised if he makes our lists next year. But still some uncertainty there this year for me as well, and not ready to put him into the top 5.
No, absolutely done. Next week, the little teaser, we'll have top 5 running backs, and I had top 5 receivers, but we'll add in that top 5 receiving cores as well. Make sure we have a full show ahead. I got nothing else to add on Drew Brown. He just kind of disappointed me this year. Maybe I was too high on him last year. I've matured a little bit. Just, realizing that, don't do the crazy top 5 pick. That's all.
Any other guys you guys had left off your list that you wanted to touch on?
Well, I guess I better explain.
You go ahead.
I better explain to Rider Nation why I didn't put Trevor Harris on my list. Because otherwise I'm going to have pitchforks in my door probably in about an hour and a half.
You overestimate the number of people that listen to this podcast.
Fair enough. Probably all 3 people from Yorkton from the Cornerstone Credit Union will be after me after this. Anyways, no, the reason being is Trevor Harris hasn't been healthy for 2 or 3 straight seasons. He can't seem to stay upright for a whole season. That ruins results. And until he can, I really can't see how you put him on a list. If he stayed healthy, yeah, I could see it. The same reason why I don't have Zach Collaros on a list. I have a funny feeling this year with no offensive line help, he's going to suffer, and it's going to be ugly. So those are the 2 guys that I know they can produce, and they're still good quarterbacks, but the team around them, again, Saskatchewan has a tendency of feeding their offensive lines through meat grinders, and then the quarterback ends up eating it eventually. And same thing with, I think this year, Winnipeg's going to have the same problem. So kind of that's why I didn't pick those 2 players on my list.
No, I was going to say the only person I kind of hemmed and hawed, there was 2. But one was Fajardo and Bethel Thompson. Like they're probably slated as backups or competing and going into training camp. But we all kind of agreed Trey Ford. Well, I guess we didn't agree, but we put Trey Ford on our list, or we put I'm going to screw it up, Davis Alexander
There we go.
on the list as well. So I guess by that notion, we kind of assume those 2 younger guys will get the ball. But I think Fajardo and Bethel Thompson, again, you can make some arguments that maybe you could put them over Drew Brown. You can make arguments over some other guys that they could be over, and might be riding pine for large chunks of the game. They definitely don't strike me as guys that are going to do the short yardage game, especially Bethel Thompson. Maybe Fajardo would love to do it. I don't know. But those were 2 guys I kind of had a tough time. I was like, do I throw the backup in there over some guys? But then who do you take out? I don't really want to take out anybody that I had in my list. So they kind of lost out just because they're not the bona fide starter. And Chris Trevler, right? I almost had to put him in the top 5 just for Adam, but I can only do one crazy pick a top 5. I can't have too many.
Chris Trevler is on number about 25 or 30 on my list. Curtis Rourke hasn't taken a snap in the CFL, and I think I'd put him over Chris Trevler.
Hey, I mean, Brandon in the chat said Tommy Stevens should be number 1, and Jake Mayer can lead the Riders to a Grey Cup this year if Trevor Harris goes down. So, maybe
best wishes with that idea.
2 guys that I left off my list that showed up at least on one of your guys' list. I'm kind of surprised in myself because they're typically the guys I fall in love with and really wanted to rank up there. And I feel like I went the safer approach this year with the veterans is Trey Ford and Davis Alexander. Super hyped for these guys. It was a little bit of okay, now they finally get their starting job, like show me year from them that I'm looking for, where I think they can easily crack that top 5 for next year's rankings for me. But Trey Ford, I really want to see from him go and develop more as a passer. I think we saw him starting to do that a little bit last season, but you can't just run all game long. You need to mix in the passing skills for me to be a top effective quarterback because they're going to figure out his run game. And Davis Alexander, yeah, he looked good in a few starts so far, but I want to see more consistency. Also, the presence of their backups there made me a little bit scared for if they do struggle early, how long is the leash on these guys? How quick are the Alouettes going to turn to Bethel Thompson? How quick are the Elks going to turn to Fajardo? And I certainly hope not after the 3-year contracts they gave each of these guys that's going to be the case. But yeah, I think those were the other 2 names outside of, we talked about Collaros, we talked about Drew Brown. Those were the other 2 names out of the starters that it pained me to leave off my top 5 list, but had to do it this year.
Good stuff. You know what? Let's just quickly recap them because a couple people joined us late. So Adam, starting at number 5, you had Vernon Adams Jr., Bo Levi, Chad Kelly. Then you had Alexander Davis, Alexander, whichever one, both of them. And then you had Nathan Rourke. Ryan, when you were number 5, you went to Ryderville with Trevor Harris. Then you went with Chad Kelly, VA at number 3. Bo Levi at number 2, and your boy Nathan Rourke. You still the chairman of the Nathan Rourke Hall of Fame committee and all that?
Yeah, I just don't use social media enough, so it's it's a party of one now. I'm not spreading the news enough.
You're the only voting
co-chair apparently. So
yeah, and then my list, I went number 5, Vernon Adams Jr., number 4, Bo Levi Mitchell, number 3, Trey Ford, number 2, Nathan Rourke, back-to-back Canadians there at number 1. My boy, Zach Collaros. We need to have like a behind the scenes. Tell Mike to watch this episode and record himself without knowing what happens.
The reaction of Mike dropping his jaw.
Yeah, really want to see when we get to that point. Just tell him like the timestamp. Just be prepared for this.
In the wrestling world, I'm sure this is called a heel turn.
Yeah, pretty much. This was my like Pat McAfee when he was trying to hype the fans that he was going to pick, was it Georgia or whatever? And they go, put Alabama there. I enjoy it. I knew everyone thought it was going to be Kelly or I never really thought of Brown. I could see where you went with that one though, Ryan. I was high on him last year, but I'm very emotional guy. You could go from number 1 to number 100, and you can go from number 100 to number 1. It's I'm very easygoing.
The fun thing about this is Zach Collaros might be back to number 15 for you by tomorrow, so we'll see.
Hey, but I'm a true professional. I will never say a bad thing about him now that he's my number 1.
Okay, Adam, we need to have a chat here. What's going to be more unbearable? Trey, when he picked Chad Kelly as his number 1 quarterback off of the Grey Cup win, and Kelly had the MOP season, and Trey never let us forget it, or if Collaros does bounce back and have an MOP season this year after his heel turn.
I mean, if that happens, we almost have to build a bronze statue of Trey Colbeck outside of Winnipeg. In our, what is it called now? Princess Auto Field.
You guys better hurry, man. I'm waiting for my letter from the Vatican, man. That conclave starts, anytime now, and I'm just waiting. So
we'll be saying holy if you do it, but I think it'll be something else at the end of it if it actually happens.
True professional. Yeah, I'm a true professional, man. True professional. Anyway, is there anything else you want to talk about? I feel like this was a short episode, but let's ease us in. Preseason. This is our preseason. We'll ease in. Again, we'll be back next. We'll aim for Wednesdays. We're gonna aim for Wednesdays, unless the Jets play. No, I'm just kidding. We'll aim for Wednesdays.
The cows get out.
Yeah, it wasn't the Jets game. It just was a coincidence. But next week we'll be back with top 5 running backs, same kind of criteria, wide open. What did Richard say? Vibes or feelings? Like just feelings and vibes. We'll also do top 5 receivers, and I liked Ryan's idea. Top 5 receiving core groups across the league. Because we were talking about that free agency. And that's actually a good one where that's tough. And then, let's little teaser. Week after that, we'll do top 5 kickers and top 5 defense as well. That might be fun as well. Then we'll get into the East and West previews each week. We'll talk some fantasy drafts. And then, that's like only 4 or 5 weeks. And then it's week 1. That's crazy that it's already May and week 1's kicking off. Where's your official stuff? I got to find this. I'm not good at running the show, Ryan. Why do you do this to me?
You're doing great. A true professional.
Like I said, true professional will be back. A true professional wouldn't call themselves a true professional. Well, Richard, you don't know any true professionals then. So we'll make sure to follow us on Twitter, the CF Countdown Pod, or on Facebook at facebook.com. CF Countdown. Shut up, Adam. Check out all the other great shows around the Canadian Football Podcast Network, as well at CF Pod Network on Twitter, and the Alternative Football Network at the official AFN on Twitter, or alternativefootballnetwork.com, where you can find me absolutely blasting the Birmingham Stallions like the true professional I am, because they should be the best team in the league, and they're just a bunch of donkeys chasing their tail. Ryan, no, Ryan doesn't have social media. Adam, where can people find you?
You can find me at Adam Stewart 1 on there. I've got some truly professional photos of tractors and air drills and all sorts of good stuff running. Seating time's here, so it'll be going this week, probably this weekend. We'll be going big into that. And of course, I'll probably make a few posts here and there about Rough Rider stuff going on, or some CFL stuff going on once in a while. Try to get into it a little bit more here on the old X, and also on Instagram. I'll probably try to make a few more posts there as well. So, Ryan, I know you don't go really much on the old X or Blue Sky or any of the real social media stuff, but if people do want to follow you for interest, how could they do that?
Yeah, if you're just looking to pad your stats, you can find me at CooperTrooper42 on Twitter and Blue Sky. I think that's what my handle is there as well. But I really don't post anything on social media besides, if you'd like a link to this episode you're listening to currently from an additional place on top of where we originally posted, I'll retweet it so you can find it there. But won't find me posting much on social media unless I get in a GIF war with these guys under the episode thread, which happens from time to time. But I will try to, on the show accounts that Trey listed, I will try to, in a couple of days after this comes out, post our top 5 quarterback rankings, and let us know in the comments and that, or let us know in the YouTube comments as well, or Facebook, of whose list you agree with the most, and just tell us how badly we got all of them wrong.
Awesome.
Trey, I expect you to change your Twitter handle to True Professional 42 after this.
Honestly, I can just picture Ryan. I'm blanking on what it's called, but you just have that like a burner account. You just got some burner account just deep in the Twitter underbelly where, I can't think of one. You're like just CFL God _69 or something, or you just tweeting CFL all day and you just pretend like you're not on Twitter.
He's actually fake gainer, but he doesn't tell anybody.
Fake gainer.
My cover is blown.
Anyway, if you would find me on the X, I'm at Trey MB Harness. Always got the horse racing stuff going. Kentucky Derby. I'm still undecided on who I was going to win, so don't even ask me. I'll have to post it sometime tomorrow because I'm doing Kentucky Derby picks on my website. So if you want to check out that, that's westernpacer.com as well, just for funsies. Check me out on AFN. I write there. Yeah, that's about it. And join the Discord. Now, reminder, check out the Discord. That should be a link in the description below. or up top. I don't know how YouTube's formatted anymore. I don't go on YouTube. And support the show any way you're listening, any platform. Like, share, comment, subscribe. It could be a mean comment. A comment's a comment, and you put us in the algorithm. It doesn't matter. We don't care. Post about us on Reddit. We don't care. Ryan didn't actually fix his microphone. He was just bluffing. Anyway.
Is it not any better?
No, it sounds good, buddy. It sounds good. It sounds good. Shower curtain. That's not a shower curtain. That's a bed sheet. You swine. Come on, Richard. I'm a little classy. I don't have a shower curtain in my living room. It's a Winnipeg fancy curtain. Anyway, yeah, whatever. Comment, rate, subscribe. Thank you for listening. You guys have anything else you want to add before we get the heck out of here? You look like you want to say something, Adam.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Cue credits. See you next time.
That's me.
Oh.